How Norway built an EV utopia while the US is struggling to go electric. Norway is a pioneer in the electric vehicle EV transition, demonstrating the successful integration and adoption of EVs into a nation's transportation system. The country's success is a result of its strong cultural approval of electric mobility, cohesive policies, and well-developed charging infrastructure. Conversely, the United States has encountered substantial obstacles, which have exposed a more fragmented approach to the integration of electric vehicles. Norway's success is the result of a strategic combination of ambitious climate objectives, generous government incentives, and extensive charging networks which have fostered an environment in which electric vehicles are both practical and desirable. In the interim, the United States is confronted with inconsistent infrastructure, variable policy support, and varied consumer attitudes, all of which have impeded its transition to electric vehicles. This video will investigate the 7 critical factors that have contributed to Norway's success in the electric vehicle sector, as well as the obstacles that the United States has encountered. By comprehending these components, we can gain a more comprehensive comprehension of the critical factors that are essential for the rapid adoption of electric vehicles and the transition to a more sustainable future. 1. Policies and incentives of the government. The government's well-crafted incentives and policies are the primary factors contributing to Norway's remarkable success in the adoption of electric vehicles (EVs). In order to enhance the appeal of electric vehicle ownership, the Norwegian government has implemented a variety of incentives. These consist of substantial tax reductions, exemptions from road tolls, and free parking in urban areas. These incentives effectively promote the widespread adoption of electric vehicles among consumers by substantially reducing the overall cost of ownership. In distinct contrast, the United States operates under a fragmented system of incentives. Federal tax credits are available, however, they are subject to phase-outs based on the manufacturer's sales volume. Furthermore, the incentives at the state level are highly variable, resulting in a patchwork of benefits that can be perplexing and inconsistent. This lack of uniformity can discourage potential purchasers, thereby causing uncertainty and delaying the transition to electric vehicles. EV adoption rates can be significantly influenced by targeted and coherent governmental strategies, as evidenced by the disparity in policy efficacy between Norway and the US too. Sturdy charging infrastructure. Norway's success in the adoption of electric vehicles is significantly influenced by its comprehensive and resilient charging infrastructure. The nation is home to an extensive network of rapid chargers and one of the highest densities of public charging stations in the world. This well-established infrastructure guarantees that electric vehicle owners have effortless access to charging stations, thereby reducing range anxiety and rendering electric driving a viable alternative for a significant number of individuals. Conversely, the United States encounters substantial obstacles with respect to its charging infrastructure. Although there have been improvements in urban areas, rural and sparsely populated regions continue to experience a scarcity of adequate charging options. Consumer confidence is adversely affected by the uneven distribution and sluggish expansion of charging networks throughout the nation, which impede the widespread adoption of EVs. The significance of a comprehensive and accessible network to facilitate the transition to electric mobility and promote the adoption of electric vehicles is emphasized by the disparity in charging infrastructure between Norway and the United States. 3. Integration of public transportation. Norway has established a global standard for sustainability by successfully incorporating electric vehicles into its public transportation system. Electric buses, ferries, and other forms of public transportation have become more prevalent in Norwegian cities, demonstrating the versatility of electric technology and contributing to substantial reductions in emissions. This integration underscores the potential of electric mobility to revolutionize entire transportation networks, in addition to its application in personal vehicles. Conversely, the United States has encountered a more gradual transition to electric public transportation. Limited investments in electric alternatives have resulted in numerous cities continuing to depend on diesel-powered buses. The slow adoption of electric technologies in U.S. public transit impedes the overall reduction of emissions and the broader approval of EVs as a sustainable and viable transportation solution. Norway exemplifies the potential for electric vehicles to generate substantial environmental benefits across a variety of transportation modalities by adopting electric public transit. Accelerating its initiatives in this domain could be advantageous for the United States in order to optimize its strategy for the adoption of electric vehicles. 4. Cultural acceptance and consumer awareness. In Norway, electric vehicles (EVs) have evolved beyond mere transportation options. They represent a dedication to technological innovation and environmental sustainability. The high cultural acceptability of electric vehicles (EVs) is indicative of their status as innovative, eco-friendly, and modern solutions. Their pervasive adoption has been significantly influenced by this favorable perception. Conversely, the United States maintains an increasingly intricate perspective on electric vehicles. Skepticism among American consumers has been precipitated by concerns regarding the performance of electric vehicles (EVs), the longevity of batteries, and the perception of EVs as a niche market. This ambiguous perception impedes the widespread acceptance and adoption of the concept. It is imperative to surmount these cultural obstacles in order to expedite the adoption of electric vehicles in the United States. In order to alter consumer attitudes, it is imperative to increase consumer awareness and emphasize the practical advantages of electric vehicles (EVs), including cost savings and reduced environmental impact. The United States can accelerate its transition to a more sustainable transportation future by addressing these concerns and cultivating a more optimistic perspective on electric vehicles. 5. Dedication of the government to climate objectives. Norway's effective adoption of electric vehicles (EVs) has been significantly influenced by its ambitious climate objectives. The nation has pledged to ensure that all new vehicles sold by 2025 are emission-free, a goal that has prompted substantial investments in electric vehicle infrastructure and technology. This critical objective not only ignites consumer interest but also encourages manufacturers to innovate and facilitate the transition to electric mobility. The strong unifying incentive for all stakeholders involved is derived from the clarity and ambition of Norway's target. Conversely, the United States encounters obstacles as a consequence of its inconsistent dedication to climate objectives. The stability and focus of these commitments can be influenced by political changes and varying levels of government support, despite the fact that the country has established a variety of climate targets. A fragmented policy landscape that undermines the effectiveness of incentives and creates market uncertainty is the result of the absence of a cohesive national target for EV adoption. This inconsistency impedes progress toward a unified climate strategy and complicates efforts to promote the widespread adoption of EVs. 6. Market conditions and economic factors. The adoption of electric vehicles (EVs) is significantly influenced by economic factors, as evidenced by the stark contrast between Norway and the United States. In Norway, the favorable environment for electric vehicles is formed by the high average income and the high cost of petroleum. EVs are not only a practical but also an economically attractive alternative for many Norwegians due to the financial burden of fossil fuels and the generous government incentives. The widespread proliferation of electric vehicles is driven by the combination of supportive policies and the high costs of traditional fuels. Conversely, the United States encounters an economic reality that is distinct. The immediate financial allure of transitioning to electric vehicles (EVs) is diminished as a result of lower gasoline prices, which is one of the primary factors driving their adoption. Additionally, the complexity of EV adoption is exacerbated by the United States' diversified economic landscape, which results in significant variations in market conditions and incentives from state to state. In order to increase the adoption of electric vehicles (EVs) in the United States, it will be essential to resolve these economic disparities and establish more consistent financial incentives. 7. Long-term planning and policy consistency. The power of consistent and long-term policy planning is exemplified by Norway's voyage to become a leader in electric vehicles (EVs). The nation's success is a direct result of its unwavering dedication to the promotion of electric vehicles (EVs) through the implementation of clear, stable policies and the establishment of ambitious objectives. This consistent approach not only cultivates consumer confidence but also attracts substantial investment in EV infrastructure and technology, thereby establishing a robust environment for growth. In striking contrast, the United States has encountered policy inconsistency, which has been influenced by fluctuating government support and changing political landscapes. The absence of continuity and coherence has resulted in a fragmented EV market, where consumer adoption and industry development are impeded by uncertainty and variability. In order for the United States to emulate Norway's accomplishments, it will be necessary to establish a more stable and unified policy framework that promotes long-term growth and innovation in the electricity vehicle sector. Conclusion: critical lessons for sustainable transportation are underscored by the contrast between Norway's success in establishing an EV utopia and the United States' persistent problems. Norway's successful strategy, which is characterized by robust government incentives, extensive charging networks, integration into public transit, cultural acceptance, and clear climate objectives, has not only made electric vehicles commercially viable, but also highly desirable. In contrast, the United States encounters substantial obstacles such as economic disparities, a fragmented charging infrastructure, inconsistent policies, and a variety of consumer attitudes. These obstacles emphasize the necessity of a more strategic and cohesive strategy to expedite the adoption of electric vehicles. The United States can rectify its deficiencies and execute more efficient electric mobility strategies by adopting Norway's approach. The world is transitioning to sustainability, and Norway's accomplishments serve as a compelling example. By implementing innovative policies and coordinating efforts, the United States has the capacity to surmount its present challenges and make substantial strides in the electric vehicle sector. The automotive landscape could be revolutionized, and a more sustainable, cleaner future in transportation could be established by adapting these lessons to local contexts. Let us know in the comments what you think about this, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more captivating content on our YouTube channel.